Welcome back to On the Light, a podcast dedicated to illuminating the profound teachings and legacy of Yogacharya BKS Iyengar. I'm your host, Susan Johnson. In this episode, I start out with asking Prashant a question on karma. I wanted to know if we are able to pick up where we leave off from in this life in terms of our progress on our yoga spiritual journey. His answer is unsurprisingly profound and thought-provoking. He explains, if you have taken something from Adyatma, it will not betray you. We also hear Lee share a story of Guruji's first experience traveling to the United States, which gives us some perspective of the challenges he faced, especially in the earlier years of his teaching. Please enjoy this episode of On the Light. Thank you for meeting with us again, sir.
Yeah.
Well, my first question has to do with our talk yesterday and in the Saturday session. And you had talked about how you were speaking of the purpose of Prakriti. One thing that you said was, because we are capable of evolving, we're also capable to devolve. So I was thinking about, how many of us are, we're on this spiritual path of yoga and we're trying to get somewhere with that. And is it possible for us that we would sort of pick up where we left off in this life in our next embodiment?
Yeah, very true. Very true. Yeah. That is a promise that Adyatma gives, spiritual sciences. Because Arjuna has a question in Bhagavad Gita. He says, you're talking about this yoga. It seems extremely difficult to attain that in one life.
Mm-hmm.
So, is it worthwhile making an endeavor? If something cannot be attained in a lifetime, it seems to be not possible to attain in one lifetime. So, Krishna says, it is indeed a process which takes several lives, several hundreds of lives or thousands of lives. No problem about it, and there's no doubt about it. But the thing is that in spiritual process, where we have reached in this life, it will certainly give a launch point to us on a higher pedestal. And we will proceed from there onwards further. It is unlike our education that every life, when we are born, we have to start with kindergarten. A for apple and B for bat and C for cat. Every time education comes with very fundamentals. And therefore, a doubt comes in our mind, if we have done yoga for whatever 10, 20, 30, 40 years, is it going to be the same commencement every life? Then where is the process of evolving? So the thing is that we are not just practicing something in life, we are taking it to our samskaras. And samskaras, they come with us.
Mm-hmm.
Vyasa in his commentary somewhere he has said, the samskaras are like mother. Mother is ever protecting the child. So that's his statement in his commentary. Kalyani iva janani. Kalyani, that means she is for the our welfare and wellness. Like mother is always considering the welfare of the child and baby. She might be engaged in various activities, but the welfare of her baby is never out of sight. It is never kept in cold storage, or it is never at stake. So our samskaras are such things. But that doesn't mean that in next life we will be child prodigies. The thing is that the samskaras manifest at right point in time. It's not that suppose I have reached a particular level of yoga in this life, and when I commence in my next life, it doesn't mean that I will straight away start from where I have finished in this life. I will have to go through the protocol aspects, preparatory aspects, not that everyone takes birth as a child prodigy. So if it interests you, I can say that it is something like child prodigy, youth prodigy. Unless you are young, the samskars will not surface. The samskars will surface at right point in time. It's not that we are all child prodigies once we practice yoga and next life we will be commencing from there onwards. We will commence like others. We will commence like we commenced in previous life, but we will be on a fast track. And at right point in time, we will get onto the track from where we have to proceed further. So, like the child is born, certain things will appear at particular age. A girl will attain puberty at particular age. The boy will start getting mustache, etc. at particular age. So until that time, one has to wait. So similarly in yoga, in the Adyatma, it's not that we are all like child prodigies unless we have reached the exclusive level. Then we will be born as child prodigies. By birth, we will be showing our potentials and we will be having our own way to go about. But otherwise, we all commence like usually it is commence, but somebody can be on a fast track and somebody will change the track to proceed from where one ended in a past life. So that is promised in Adyatma because it is a journey of several lives. Because Adyatma works on your samskar. Adyatma doesn't work on your behavior. It works on your samskars, potentials within you. And therefore, samskars are always with us. Say, for instance, I was a very mediocre child when I was born, and when I went through my teenage, etc., I was a very mediocre, a sub-mediocre child. I was not good in anything that I did, which usually any average child will be good at. Like I was very poor in academics. I was totally stupid, doltish, stone-headed. But the time had to come. Thereafter, I picked up. Not that by birth I was what I'm assessed today. I was subnormal. My parents were very much worried about my prospects. They thought that I am not good for anything. So my father tried to put me in so many trades, whatever is appealing. So I might pick up some pace. So I did so many things in my childhood. I don't want to say that, but until particular time, the samskars which I had, these philosophical samskars, they did not surface. Not that by birth they surfaced. At a right point in time, like the boy has to wait for mustache to appear. So it will be about 10, 12 years of age. Adolescence has to be attained, and then the mustache will appear. Similarly, these samskars will appear at right point in time, but they certainly come handy, and they certainly protect us. Like mother protects the baby, samskars protect us, and therefore we can rest assured that we will quickly get on to the path where we have ended in the previous life. Not immediately. So, therefore, even in case of Guruji, we can easily deduce that although he said, I have worked very hard to attain here, I came from Nadir to Zenith in my development, it is certain that he had done yoga in previous lives. Perhaps sometime, maybe not in immediately previous life, but previous lives. So the gestation period is allowed, it has to be allowed for samskars. So sometimes they don't manifest in one life, next life. So I may not embark upon yoga in my next life, possibly. But the samskars which I have collected in yoga now will definitely surface, if not in next life, in following life, but that is a certainty. So Guruji had done yoga in some previous lives. And that definitely gave him the the pace with which he evolved in his life, the previous life, that is last life of his. So 1918 to 2014, that lifespan, he definitely had a fast track, or he had definitely grace, which came from his previous life endeavor in yoga. So we should know that we should not believe that yoga Guruji started only at that particular life. He said, I had no knowledge of yoga. That is perfectly right. He had no knowledge of yoga. But once he got onto the track, memory started surfacing.
And let's remind ourselves that then, and all the listeners, that the samskaras, they do not disappear. They do not ever not exist. Though they
True.
go into latency, they're
True.
either they can be manifest or they can be
True.
latent. So I don't mean to break your train of thought there.
So Patanjali in the 4th chapter says, Smriti samskara yo ekarupatvat. Smriti samskar. It is like a very interesting topic. Now, Susan, you have visited Pune.
Mhm.
Now, it is not that the memories of Pune are all the time on your surface of mind. But when you arrive in Pune, when you arrive here in Pune, the memories will surface.
Mhm.
You'll say, yes, I had seen this place. It doesn't mean that you are through all these 6-7 years that you have been remembering every day. You don't remember everything every day. But the memory appears with a manifesting cause. So, regard the memory, if you have read in my book, the memory is not all the time in us. The memory comes with manifesting cause. So, if you read the commentary on the Smriti Sutra in the 1st chapter, and later where Smriti has been spoken about in the 4th chapter, I have mentioned this. So, samskars are memories.
Mhm.
So suddenly a memory of 35 years back incidents will appear without arousing all the memories of 35 years. Suppose you get a memory which happened 35 years back, it doesn't mean all 35 years are remembered. Only that particular memory is picked up and it appears in the mind and you get the memory of it. So similarly, these samskars are like that. So when a manifesting cause has come, the memories will surface. So maybe when Guruji started his yoga, he did not have any slightest clue that he is something extraordinary in yoga, or he is going to become extraordinary. Perhaps he thought he is below average, as his teacher all the time pointed out that fact. And therefore he said, I would teach you. You are substandard. That's why Guruji did not get tutelage from his teacher. But then Guruji commenced his yoga. So he commenced his yoga like any average or sub-average student would be commencing. But somewhere the time came that like memory appears when the manifesting cause appears, samskar appear when the manifesting cause appears, and therefore his yogic samskars suddenly came to surface and they gave him a boost and they gave him a scheme to proceed in his yoga. So he was not genius in 1934 when he started. He was not genius in 1938. He was not a genius in 1940s. However, he had commenced yoga. So the sudden boost or sudden kind of the quantum leap appeared because of samskars manifesting at a right point in time. And therefore, Guruji he overtook all others, his what you call as the colleagues. He overtook all his colleagues. Until that time, he was lagging behind. But at this particular stage, he found the pace and he found the boost and quantum leap, and therefore he became extraordinary. So in some previous lives, or maybe many of the previous lives, he had made an effort, and that came handy. Therefore, he could do what usually one would not do in 100 years, he did in 30, 40 years. So these how the samskars are there, and samskars do come handy. The point to be noted that Guruji was not a child prodigy. Because then we come across so many people who are child prodigies, such as the Yehudi Menuhin. At the age of 4, he wielded a violin and played violin at the age of 4 and 5. So sometimes there is a case of child prodigy. That means for several lives, Menuhin was in music, may not be in violin because maybe the violin was not there 500 years back, 1,000 years back, 10,000 years back, but he had a musical psyche developed. And therefore, he had disposition for music, and that's why he took a birth as a child prodigy. Guruji did not take birth as a child prodigy. He was below average. He was sub-average. But then he became what he became. That means the samskars were coming, they came to him as a booster at some stage in his life. Otherwise, he had no clue that he would be becoming extraordinary in the field of yoga. He thought he'll have to just struggle hand to mouth, perhaps throughout the life. Not only struggle in yoga, struggle even for hand to mouth in the economic aspect of the life. But then all that was set aside. So the samskars do play a role. And therefore, I have said that we must inculcate values. Our practices won't do that. We have to inculcate values. They go into samskars. Your doing of Shirshasana doesn't go in samskars. That doesn't mean next life you will stand up on the head immediately at the age of 4 and 5. Shirshasana doesn't get into your memory, samskar cortex. It is impressions, it is the values. They will go into samskar cortex and they will play wonders. So when perhaps Guruji got his Vrishchikasana for the first time, maybe by that time, he perhaps realized that unexpectedly he got something. Unexpectedly, like lightning, something happens within the psyche. Nobody has a premonition about it. So something like thunder and lightning happens, and that's how samskars manifest. Now it is pitch dark outside, say at night, evening. But suddenly there is lightning, everything becomes visible. We can see the mountains, we can see the trees, we can see what is around. So similarly, samskars come with the lightning kind of thing in the psyche, and that gives the boost. Okay. So we don't have to worry about if we take it, taking several lives to accomplish yoga. Well, we should not be frustrated or dispirited, because that is how the journey is. It's a long way for us to become, because we are from time without beginning. We have done so many, played foul games in our previous lives. Therefore, many of the samskars could not get encouragement. And therefore, we must try to inculcate values and live within values, so that samskars will certainly come. And in next life itself, perhaps next life itself, we don't have to wait for 1 or 2 lives in between. Okay.
You know what the human mind will do with it? The human mind will say that the karmic the karmic charts and the charts of Samskaras got it wrong on us, and all of this misery that I am suffering now is undeserved.
Correct. True.
I mean, it's precise, isn't it?
Yeah.
The karmic debt is absolutely precise, correct?
Very true. Very true. So hypothetically, I might say, maybe I did yoga in my retrospectively 10th life backwards. Now in this life, I took birth in a yogi's family. So yogi will take birth in a family of someone like yogi, or rich in samskars, and then the samskars will trigger. Maybe my 9 lives, I was just like a clerk, businessman, professor, teacher, ordinary man. Maybe I spent 8, 10 lives, but if I did my yoga 10 lives ago, it is intact. And therefore, the manifesting time is coming, I will be given birth in a family which have good dispositions, have good conditions, good background, and therefore I took birth in Guruji's family, and I got the advantage. So maybe for in between 7, 8 lives, perhaps I did not get the advantage. I was perhaps a mediocre practitioner, like many people practice for 3, 4, 5 years and would say goodbye to yoga. There are many of us who say goodbye to yoga. Samskars are maintained. Maybe I was saying goodbye to yoga in 3, 4 years of practice of yoga for 7, 8 lives. But in this life, I got conducive conditions. So Bhagavad Gita says about that in the 6th chapter, Srimatam Gehe. Those who are rich in those samskars, one would take birth in that, and then it would get kicked off. Yoga would be getting kicked off. So Karma Siddhanta is very, very intriguing. It is human intelligence cannot really understand, comprehend, or imagine what Karma Siddhanta is. So sometimes you should reserve this question about the Karma Siddhanta. How does the fructification of karmas take place? So today is not a topic, so we will not talk on it. But there can be some lives in between left without perhaps touch of yoga, or perhaps with touch of yoga, but just very, very casual. But if the samskars are inculcated, then at right point in time, because I say a particular tree will be bearing fruit after 40 years. Certain coconut trees, they bear fruit only after 30, 40 years. So similarly, certain fruits will require 30, 40 lives. Where is the haste? We have countless lives available. So if the particular coconut takes 30, 40 years to bear fruits, something might require 3, 4 lives, 8, 10 lives. Anyway, but that is certainty that if you have taken something from Adyatma, it will not betray you.
Mm-hmm.
It will not leave you. It will come with you. Okay. Yeah.
Well, it sort of leads me to the other thing I was wondering about. A few weeks back, you had sent me a class of yours through WhatsApp where you spoke about the physical culture of yoga, but not in maybe a typical way. You were speaking about how we can target various systems in our body through the physical aspect, the anatomical culture, the physiological culture, etc. And so, when you were talking about how we won't remember Shirshasana in our next life, but is it possible that we have a recollection or samskar of the effects that the asana had on us?
Yeah, point is wisdom will come with you.
Mm-hmm.
The wisdom is saved, not the process of Shirshasana. But wisdom will be saved. So suppose you have done your Shirshasana for the first time in this life, you might get kicked off to extremely intriguing aspect of Shirshasana, maybe after 3, 4 years of your practice or 10 years of your practice. And you will see that, oh, this was like lightning. Something came up unexpectedly. So because the manifestation of samskars is not in our hands. It is in so many factors when the memory will manifest or the samskars will manifest, but they are going to manifest. So that's one thing. Incidentally, let me tell you one more thing, like Guruji was teaching these Western people, the generation 50 years back. 50, 60 years back. So me and my Gita would question him as to how he tolerates Western people and how he allows. He would not allow that here, but he would allow that to Western people. He said that is their culture. So, and say the generation of the 1970s Americans who became students of Guruji, Ann Arbor, when Guruji visited for the first time, Mary Palmer's mother and Priscilla, etc., they were the students. That was a totally different generation. They were of your age. They were of your age, but they were totally different. 60 years back, 70 years back, American of your age was totally different. They were not accepting these things, the colonial imperialism, etc., and the Indians being brown, etc., the discrimination that was there. Now, present generation of the West is totally different. So imagine your great grandmother when she was of your age, it was not like she was like you. So many gravities were working on them because of that time. 19th century, early 19th century, or late 18th century, it was different gravity. And the Americans or the Europeans, when they came to India, we had a lot to object, myself and Gita, and we were asking him, how does he tolerate? He said that's their culture. So we cannot be doing anything. It is your culture is this. And if you violate it, you will not be spared. But we can't expect them to adhere to our culture because they are in that culture, soaked in their culture. So therefore, I have to tolerate them. So that's how the thing is that when Guruji taught Americans, now I am teaching you people, I have great freedom. That's why in previous session I said Guruji was underprivileged teacher, underprivileged acharya. He could not teach what he wanted to teach. But now take all of us. We can teach what we want to teach. You can teach what you want to teach. Lee can teach what he wants to teach. We can teach what we want to teach. But his time was such that he could not teach what he wanted to teach. So he had to teach to propagate the subject of yoga and consider their mind psyche and make something appealing to them. He had to be doing something which would appeal the Western mind, the young generation of Western mind, or later adult generation or older generation, that it's all different. American youth of 1950s is totally different than American youth of 2024. Although the age is same, stage in life is the same, but totally different culture, totally different gravities, totally different makeup. So that was totally a different time. It was not easy for him to be teaching Americans and Europeans in 1960s and 70s. And now there's a big difference between the Europeans of 2024 and Americans of 2024. And now we have the privilege that we can teach, we can put across what we want to put across. He had a predicament, he could not put across what he wanted to put across. He had to put across what they would accept. And not only accept, they will stick on to the subject of yoga. So it had to be enticing. He had to be giving something which should be enticing the Western mind. And therefore, the Westerners would stick to yoga, and in due course, they would be, they can be exposed to classical yoga. And now that opportunity came to me. If I had taught you in 1960s, I would not have been in a position to teach. Although if I had the wisdom, the same wisdom, you would not have received it because of the makeup. So Guruji had that tough time that he could not put across. That's why his practice was different as a philosopher, but his teaching was not teaching philosophy. Now, I can teach philosophy if I want to teach philosophy. I don't have to compromise. I don't have to put to cold storage. Like we all have advantage, we teach what we want to teach. And he never had the privilege to teach what he wanted to teach. He had to teach what they would accept.
And don't lose that thread of thought. But let's remember that when Guruji was invited to our country as an honored guest, and his plane landed after about 9 flights from India he had about 9 flights that he had to pick up to get to the United States. And when he reached here, he was made to wait in the back of the airplane as a man whose skin was brown. He was made to wait in the back of the airplane while the white people deplaned.
Yeah, that apartheid treatment was there in 50s and 60s. But then Guruji could also get some privilege, say, when he was 85, 90 plus, when he came to US for the last time, or maybe 2-3 times, finally, he could teach what he wanted to teach. But in 1970s, he could not teach what he wanted to teach. He had to teach that would be enticing the Mary Palmers, etc., to be continuing yoga. So it was like handling children. You have to handle the child, go by its dispositions and likes, demands. You cannot be imposing on a child. Similarly, he could not impose on Europeans and Americans his subject, which you could do in later part. By that time, it was too late. That's why I said it was underprivileged. So maybe after 1980s and 1990s, if he visited abroad, he had the liberty to teach what he wanted. He could put across what he wanted. He could not do that in 1950s and 1960s. In 50s, when he came for the first time to Switzerland, and then 56 to US, he had to cater Yehudi meaning when he came in 1954 to Switzerland. He was just there to teach Yehudi meaning. When he came to US for the first time in 1956, he was there to teach only William Harkness. So she had certain demands and he had to just cater. When he went to teach the Queen Elizabeth of Belgium, he had to teach what she wanted. He could not teach what he wanted. He always had to teach what she wanted. She was 80 years of age, 80 plus years of age. So he could not put across what he wanted. That only happened in later part of his life, even when he came abroad, say last 2-3 trips perhaps, he could put across what he wanted. So he was underprivileged for all those 50, 60 plus years of his teachings. Lots of sanctions on him. Like in England, they said, we will promote you, but don't bring philosophy. Teach physical culture, pure physical culture. Teach purely for health. We don't want your Oriental philosophy, Oriental ethos. Don't bring in that. And that's how they allowed him to prepare something for inner educative authorities in London, syllabus, etc. And that's how the formal syllabi of Iyengar Yoga came in, because of that in UK. But like we people, right from beginning, I have been, last 50 years of my teaching, I have been teaching what I wanted. So I am not catering consumer yoga for all these 50 years, 55 years of my teaching. Whereas Guruji had to cater consumer yoga for quite a while, quite a long time, and could not stuff down the throat of Europeans and Americans what he did perhaps in the later stages, final stages of his life. That's why I said he was underprivileged Acharya, underprivileged teacher. We are all now privileged. All Iyengar teachers teach what they want to teach. Where they are good to teach, they will teach. Where they are not good at teaching, they will not teach. That was not the case of Guruji. He had to cater the needs of people. Even if he was not good, he had to teach that. So let me tell you this. Maybe you have heard about it. Guruji had no knowledge of anatomy, physiology. But he was not getting chance to get students. So somebody came with any problem. He said, yes, 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 I will cure you. Yes, yes, I will help you. He did not know. Say, for instance, nephritis is a disease of the kidney. He perhaps did not know in the formative periods nephritis and kidneys. But somebody came with nephritis problem. Yes, 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 I will cure it. And then he started researching what is nephritis, what are kidneys, what is the kidney function, what does it do? Is it a digestive organ or is it some other organ? Later he did research, but he promised, any problem, yes, you come to me, I will teach you. Because he had no students otherwise. He would not have thrived if he had said, no, I don't know what it is, so don't come to me. So he had such a confidence, but then he definitely saw that he is not going to fool me. He did whatever necessary research. So somebody came, problem, say, infertility. He said, yes, I will help you. Perhaps he had no idea what can be reason for infertility, etc. What is infertility and what is the reason, etc. But later he did a lot of research. When he started teaching, he consulted some of his friends, doctor friends. He had a lot of doctor friends, and he would discuss with them, what is this problem, what is that problem, why does it happen? So the medical prudence, he was not otherwise a medico. He was not a medico. But he had to handle primarily medical cases, remedial cases in his life. And therefore, he did a lot of research. He studied anatomy after he started teaching, because he got the problems from students, anatomical problems. Until that time, he was just practicing for himself, get asanas, attain asanas, learn perfect asanas, smoothen the asanas. He was just working on them. But when he started teaching, people started coming with complaints, vertigo, sinus, asthma. He had no clue what were the diseases. He was not trained in medical college. But he really worked hard for that aspect, which was not essential yoga. But that was for his economic activity. And side by side, when as a philosopher, he started studying the subject of yoga. But he could not have looked into Patanjali Yoga Sutra, somebody coming for infertility problem, somebody coming with a kidney problem, somebody coming with a lung problem, heart problem, or any deformity. He would not be looking into Patanjali Yoga Sutras. Where would he look? He did look at all those books, whatever necessary. He did consult his friends and doctors and got briefed from them that this is the disease of such an organ. This is what happens due to disease, and this is why the disease might happen. Disuse, overuse, abuse of particular organ or life habit. Therefore, Guruji started working on anatomical system. And he perhaps became the greatest master to really work on the anatomical system and the yoga for that. He did a lot of research to pen down light on yoga, because this was the important aspect that he thought it should be appendix to light on yoga, asanas and diseases. So he had to do a lot of research. The amount of the work that he did put in for not very essential thing is also something to be appreciated. We will say, oh, that's not important. I will tell my student, no, go somewhere else. I won't help you. That's not my problem. That's not my cup of tea to help you in nephritis or whether your kidney problem or asthma. You go to someone else. Guruji did not do that. So although it was ultimately unproductive, he did the research for the sake of students. Otherwise, he would not have thrived, because he got the recognition that he can help kidney problem. That's why J. Krishnamurti came to him in mid-1940s. He had a kidney problem and somebody suggested, Mr. Iyengar can help you. So that's how Guruji got recognition. Not because Guruji is a yogi, you go to him. Guruji has remedies for your problem, therefore go to Guruji. This is how the thing happened for him. Nobody came to him as a authority on the subject of yoga. They came to him because he can cure diseases. He can help the diseased people. He can help the people with malady, physical, mental maladies. He did a lot of research for that, and then maybe previous life came handy because he was in previous life. It was said that he was a physician, Ayurvedic physician. So he had some medical wisdom in the previous life because he was a very good medical physician in Ayurveda in his previous life, according to somebody's readings. So many things have come handy for him. But the fact of the matter that Guruji was known to be not as a master of yoga, but somebody who can solve your problems. Worldly problems, mundane problems, physical problems, mental problems, emotional problems, embodiment problems. That's how Guruji got the footing to really get acclaimed as Yogacharya by the world. Not because of his wisdom in yoga. He was called Yogacharya not because he spoke on Dharmendriya. He was called Yogacharya because he helped people with his yoga, the suffering people, ailing people. And that's how he became so popular, famous, world-renowned for his trait to help people who are suffering or who are in sufferance. Now, that was not my problem at all. So, I did work in remedial classes until my accident. But after remedial classes, I did not go back to remedial classes. Because by that time I felt that, well, it is being conducted, it is handled, it is being managed. Why should I go there? And then I got my opportunities. But until look at the Guruji's plight. Until he was 95, 94, 95, 96, he went to medical classes. He should be knowing it. Oh, until he was going to institute, he invariably went to medical classes and helped people there. Now, I did not go. I had this advantage. I could take this privilege. But Guruji did not avail of it. He did help until the last possible chance that he could help anyone in the remedial cases. Okay.
Is it possible that Guruji's yoga manifested in this time, which is very different from the time when Patanjali authored the Yoga Sutras, but in this time where we as humanity are so bound by our physical culture, and that, that was the only way really to teach the subject, really, where it would really stick and then and get us someplace in our learning.
That is true. In case of Guruji, now when he spoke of these esoteric aspects of yoga, that means his practices in previous life or previous lives came handy. That's why he spoke with the intriguing aspects of Dharmendriya, intriguing aspects of the 4 lobes of the brain and 4 compartments of the heart, etc., relating them, Paitri Purana Mudita, Upeksha, Vitarka Vichar, Ananda Asvita. So this is because of his not some study in this particular life, but in previous lives he practiced essential yoga, quintessential yoga, and that took such a long time for him to actualizing. So maybe after 1975s and 1980s, 70s and 80s, all those things started appearing in mind. Concept of Dharmendriya, concept of the esoteric aspects of yoga, the Vayus, the Tattvas, etc., or whatever those things, Chitta Vritti, Nirodha, Samskaras, etc. So they were not when in 1930s when it started, 1934 when it started, not even in 1944, not even in 1954, not even in 1964, not even until Light on Yoga came up. It is only after Light on Yoga came up he started speaking about Dharmendriya. He started speaking about Dharma. He started speaking about the Chaturvarnas. Now, all that because of his practice in earlier lives, where it was suitable condition to practice Chaturvarnas, the four Varnas, four ashramas, Dharma, and Dharmendriya, or his concept of Karmendriya, etc. So that was something that he practiced quintessential yoga in previous lives. Because there was no, perhaps he did not have to tackle with medical cases in his earlier manifestations as a practitioner of yoga. Because nobody came to yoga for asthma, nobody came to yoga for heart problem, nobody came to yoga for say any problem or say infertility, etc. It is later they started coming to yoga, looking into yoga. Does the yoga have a solution for these medical problems, these mental problems? Earlier, yoga, nobody went to yoga for a physical problem or mental problem. Today, I have a physical problem, I will try to Google search, can yoga come handy? Any mental problem, I will Google search, any chance yoga can come handy. It was not the case 300-400 years back. Nobody went for mundane problems, physical problems, embodiment problems. Nobody came to yoga. So it was essential yoga practice earlier. So Guruji in earlier manifestations did not do the yoga, practice the yoga, teach the yoga that he did in his life. And that came handy because those samskaras, the Dharmendriya did not occur to him in 1950s. Dharmendra did not occur to him even when he wrote Light on Yoga. After Light on Yoga also, right? After Light on Pranayama also, it came later. So when the samskar will manifest is something that we'll have to wait for, and they will come at opportune time. And therefore, Guruji started totally differently. Say 85th birthday and 80th birthday, big difference, celebrations. 80th birthday, he did not speak all those things. 85th birthday, he started teaching on certain very, very intriguing aspects of yoga. The Panchaklesha, the Panchavrittis, Chitta Bhubis, Trigunas, the Sharira Trayas, Stula Sharir, Surya Sukshma Sharir, Karana Sharir. All these things, they got crowded in his mind in his later part of life. So he was really bubbling to find an outlet. All that did not come earlier in his life, it came in last leg of his life. If that leg is say of 5 years or 8 years, 10 years. But all those 70 years earlier, no, he did not have the clue. And therefore he would be discussing with us and he would tell us, do you know what is this? Do you know what is this Kipsa Bhumi, Vikshipta Bhumi? So he got the intricacies at very, very later stage of life. Even after Light on Yoga Sutras came, many things dawned in his mind after he had the book was seen the light of the day, Light on Yoga Sutras. So the essence of Yoga Sutras was appearing even after Yoga Sutras was published. And therefore he was, like a child is excited when you give lots of toys to play. Now these precepts started coming in his mind in later part of his life, and therefore he had a lot of kind of enthusiasm and excitement, but his motor energies were not matching his consciousness. He realized that now at this age I cannot be doing anything. But in mind, and that's why it was a very strange situation for him. If Dharmendriya came to him in 1960s, his yoga would have taken quantum leap. It did not occur to him. It occurred to him when he was past 70, 75 years of age. So that's the misfortune which I speak about. Whereas we got it quite earlier. So we got to hear Dharmendriya when I was perhaps 45, 50 years of age.
Yeah.
But that did not occur to him, Guruji, when he was 45, 50. So that's how we are fortunate. We are very, very fortunate that the things are presented to us, they are shown to us, indicated to us, which did not happen to Guruji. That's why I said he was uh, underprivileged Yogacharya or teacher of yoga. Okay. Yeah. Anything else?
Well,
And I can tell you, you can look into that talk which I gave in centenary celebrations, the journey of Iyengar Yoga.
mm-hmm.
The journey of Iyengar Yoga. I gave a talk at Balewadi for the centennial celebration, 100-year celebrations. So how the journey of Iyengar system and journey of Guruji's yoga. Because you should recall, I said when he embarked upon light on yoga, his practice changed. When he embarked upon light on pranayama, his practice changed because of the studies and because of the memories, because of the samskaras. Because when he started writing for light on pranayama, certain samskaras came to surface. When he started writing light on yoga, certain samskaras came to surface. When he wrote light on yoga sutras, some samskaras got a chance to manifest. And that's how, as he started writing, many things came to surface. And then he had his original ideas. He had original ideas about all those. It is because of the Samskar Kosha. So the volcano erupted at a wrong point in time. If I take it my way, they should have erupted when he was in 40s and 50s. He would have been a totally different person. Now, finally, let me tell you, if we have to infer Guruji, how he would have been. So I thought if Guruji had been in native place teaching yoga and not teaching Westerners who are totally, it's a foreign concept for them. They are not familiar with what yoga is. If he had taught in native place, his journey would have been completely different journey. But then his vision was to propagate yoga. So I say he was also born at wrong point in time. He should have been born when I was born. And the responsibility that he carried out should have been relegated to me by I taking birth in 1918. So I would have done all the spade work. And he would have been engaged in superstructure. So it's just a kind of imagination that if he had stayed in native place, taught in his mother tongue, native language, it is so important for us to evolve our subject when we are teaching. If I'm made to teach in a foreign language, I have lots of problems. Now, English is a foreign language, it's not my language. And similarly, Guruji, English was a foreign language, not his language. So if he had taught in his native place, he would have taught in Kannada. If he had taught in Kannada, the samskaras would have manifested quickly. He could not teach essential yoga for 40, 50 years. He only said, you must learn essential yoga, you must learn quintessential yoga. He could not teach. So in native place, if he had spent 50, 60 years of his teaching, he would have had a lot of scope to raise up the structure. Because of teaching non-Indians, because of teaching non-Kannadigas, because of teaching non-native people, to work with non-native people is a different proposal in life. And he had to all the time work with non-native people. He came to Pune, so he was away from native people, native conditions. So his yoga would have been totally different if he had remained in, say, Karnataka. That's his native place. That is native language. That is his mother tongue. And the people would have been already with the ethos. Say 1940s. We Indians in 1940s were very much different. As I ended at saying that you Americans were totally different in 1950s. We Indians were totally different in 1940s. So if we had the opportunity to teach them, it would have been totally different. But he had to come to Pune and teach Parsis, teach Anglo-Indians, teach Maharashtrians. So totally not native, culture different, totally different culture. Anyway, so sometimes we have to imagine. And imagination will tell us a different dimension, how he would have been, he could have been.
Mm-hmm. But yet he was such a gift to us. I mean, and perhaps he's the only person who could have done that.
For you people to be fortunate, for you two people to be fortunate, he had to be unfortunate.
Yeah.
He paid the cost of it. Many times I say, all of us say, oh, we are fortunate to have Guruji as a teacher. But I said, have you ever thought from his side how unfortunate he is to have students like us? Yes, we are fortunate to have him as a teacher. But then from his side, we should also think, is he fortunate to have students like us? Or is he unfortunate to have students like us? Anyway.
And maybe you serve as a bridge to where his ended and where this can go from.
Yeah, that is true, because I had the opportunity. I had the privilege. I am very privileged teacher. I am privileged teacher in Iyengar system. And therefore, of course, that advantage is there. That's why I said, if I had taken birth in 1918 and did what he did, all spade work, all infrastructural work, digging the ground, digging the excavating, etc., etc. So that's how the story of the life is.
This was a really good talk.
Yes.
All of them are really, really good.
Really.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you for tuning in to On the Light. Stay with us as we continue to unfold the life's work of BKS Iyengar and the auspicious subject of yoga. Today, I leave you with this excerpt from page 21 of Core of the Yoga Sutras by BKS Iyengar. I never dreamt in my young days that I would follow the path of yoga, nor did my parents ever think that I would embrace yoga. No members of my family had encountered or had any idea of yoga. As far as I know, no one was interested in yogika or spiritual pursuit. My parents had 13 children. I was the 11th child. Out of 13, only 10 members lived long. No one in my family took an interest in the subject except my immediate elder brother and my younger sister, who had dabbled in it for a very short period of time. I stuck to it, which is no less than a reflection of the efforts of my past lives. Call it God, or the hidden hand of destiny, or the accumulated fruits of my past karmas. Circumstances in 1934 created the opportunity for my guru to initiate me into yoga by teaching me a few asanas to improve my health. Yet, he used to tell my colleagues that I was apatra, not destined or unfit for yoga. But again, the hidden hands of God created the opportunity for me to teach so that I might learn. Despite all my pains, disappointments, and unsuccessful attempts, yoga inspired me to practice enthusiastically. Like a magnet attracting iron fillings, yoga attracted me to feel the newness of each day in this God-given body. With due respect to my guru and colleagues, I may have proved them wrong by pursuing yoga despite the odds. I attribute my relentless interest in yoga to the sadhana of my previous lives. I stuck to yoga like the proverbial leech. And now, even at the age of 93, I still practice 4 to 5 hours a day. I do so with a lot of inspiration and without any aspirations. As I adore yoga, so it adorns me with fresh developments and thoughts. With this zeal and without hankering for kaivalya, I practice watching and capturing new feelings that arise from my sadhana and use them as a platform for further study and investigation. I am practicing with a simple thought that yoga is embedded and immersed in my head and heart as a base which will enable me to continue my sadhana if I am destined for a human life in my next birth. Until next time, shine bright.